Comics Inebriated, a podcast about the history of fiction and nonfiction in comics, along with current events, hosted by comic creators Liana Kangas and permanent guest Matt Emmons.
Hey everyone, welcome to Comics Inebriated, a podcast about the history of fiction and nonfiction events in comics, along with current events, hosted by myself, Liana, and my permanent guest, Baby Matt. Baby Matt, how are you?
I'm hanging in there.
Hanging in there.
Should you include your last names?
And who you hear as well is one of our special guests, Aviva Artzy.
Hello, I am Aviva Artzy. I'm an artist and model, and I'm going to be talking about Ranma Half, which I love, specifically the manga, with a very nostalgic, with a lot of nostalgic love, because I'm not super familiar with the anime. And I am drinking a crisp 11 a.m. San Pellegrino Limonata.
Welcome.
Thank you. I love a lackluster applause. Singular, I might add. It didn't sound like Matt clapped at all.
I wasn't going to at any point.
Oh, thank you. So do I just talk now the whole time? Like, are you guys going to interject, or is it just like...
Yeah. No, we listen.
We'll interject a little bit.
All right. Okay.
Mostly listen.
So Ranma Half is a comic by Rumiko Takahashi, who also created Inuyasha, most famously, and like Lum, or whatever comic Lum comes from. And it is incredible. It's like a totally shonen, but also just the most horny comic of all times. Just truly, I would say, up in the top things to consider when thinking about Ranma is the horniness, the thirst, which is ever present. So the basic premise is it's like slice of life, but also, I guess, like all shonen, which I haven't read a lot of other ones, so I'm like, I don't even know the tropes. But it revolves around Ranma, who's this martial artist, like 16 or 17-year-old boy, who goes to train in China at these magical springs with his dad. And they're like enchanted springs where if you fall into one of them, it'll be like the spring of the girl, and like a girl drowned in it 2,000 years ago. So now when you fall in that spring, you are now cursed that if you get hit by cold water, you turn into a girl, which is the spring that Ranma falls into. And in the same way, his dad falls into the spring of the panda. So when he gets hit by cold water, he turns into a panda. And the only way to turn back is by getting doused in hot water, or like bathing. So the overall premise is that like this happened, then they go back to Japan and they move in with his dad's old friend. I forget his first name, but their last name is Tendo. And they're like, oh yeah, 1,000,000 years ago, we said that our kids would get married. So now your fiance is this girl Akane Tendo, and they go to high school together and they hate each other and they're technically engaged. And, then there's just like a series of escalating plot arcs that are all like martial arts based. But like a huge part of it is the fact that there's constant visual gags and jokes about the fact that Ranma is like, I was discussing how I don't think he's truly a himbo because he's such a dick. Yeah, Ranma's super hot, and he's like super good at martial arts, and he's like super cocky and into himself and like really macho and like complete fragile masculinity. So then it is hilarious that half the time he's a girl, but he'll like keep the same shitty male bravado in being a girl. So he'll be like, I'm the hottest girl. I am way hotter than you. And as mentioned, the horniness comes in that every single character in the book who is their age is either extremely horny for Ranma or for Akane or for both when Ranma is in different forms of male or female body. Mm-hmm. 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 Thank you for this acknowledgement that I'm speaking.
I was just gonna ask if it's like, does he look different, or is it just him with long hair? I have not heard of this.
Oh my god. Okay, well, first of all, Matt, you need to read Ranma. No, he looks exactly the same, but like a male and female version. So like his signature look is that he has bangs and he has a little braid. So like there's a ton of gags over the fact that like it's just the same person, but also like in the anime, I think that he has black hair as a guy and red hair as a girl. But it's like the exact same haircut, but instead of being on like the cut like Bruce Lee body, it's on like the tiny cute anime girl body.
It works in the true 90s fashion that it was really popular.
Yeah, and that like it just like there's a ton of gags about the fact that they're so obviously the same person, but some people are really stupid and don't get it at all. They somehow think that like in the 1 second when it started raining, the guy Ranma ran away and like a random girl who looks just like him just showed up. And he's like, where'd Ranma go? He's hiding from me. He doesn't want to fight me. It's like, maybe that girl who looks exactly like him in the same place where he was is in fact him.
I'd fall for it.
Did you say you'd fall for it?
Yeah, I'd be like, no, that couldn't be him.
You're going to be really confused by the book.
Yes.
There's also, I think it's really incredible because it is so good at having like, in terms of visual storytelling, I think it's unmatched. It is full of like action and shorthand for like really funny gags of like, just like, well, it's not great, but there's a lot of like physical violence gags that are just hilarious where like a dude will say something creepy and then it's just like next panel, like punched in the face by a girl. And
we love to see it.
Yeah. There's also a lot of gags, like his dad turns into a panda, and when he speaks as a panda, he'll just like hold up a sign that says whatever he wants to say. But there's a gag in like the first issue or like the first volume where his dad gets hired as an assistant for this osteopath, and then he's like, oh, this is your dad? I don't see the resemblance, because he's literally a panda. And then his dad answers the phone and just like lifts up a sign that's like, uh-oh, pandas can't speak.
This sounds to be a super adorable, like,
yeah,
series to jump into. Do you know how many volumes it is right now?
It definitely ended. I think it started in the 1980s. I want to say 1989, but that could be wrong. And it has, let me check. I think it has 36 volumes, but they've all been out for a really long time. Gonna do a quick Google. I totally prepared for this. It ran from 1987 to 1996 with 38 volumes. I was pretty close.
Damn.
Yeah.
So there's also an anime too, right?
Yeah, there is an anime which has, I would say, like a totally different style. I know that a lot of people would be like, well, no, they're similar, but definitely like more of the big eyes in the anime compared to the manga.
And if you were to recommend, I think, something similar in this realm of storytelling or manga, what would you recommend if people already have watched or read Ranma?
Okay, well, first of all, if they've only watched it, I would definitely say to read it because I feel like it's like an incredible example of what you can do in the comics medium. Specifically in the way like things are drawn and the mixture of like having really detailed like establishing shots of a character where they'll be like, we're introducing this character, they look super hot, it's like a full body shot, and then in the next page they're just like huge eyes, like total chibi doing like a gag. Also extremely important to note that the reason that Ranma and his dad went to the like dangerous hot springs where they did not realize they were haunted and cursed is that his dad had a guide map, and it was all in Chinese, and he only speaks Japanese, so he didn't know what it said.
So cute.
This is the tiniest reaction. Thank you. Could I get a smaller reaction on that?
Yeah, Liana could just say nothing.
You did it, Matt.
I just pictured a map, and then I was just thinking about that map, and I was like, I wouldn't just use just that.
Yes.
That's it. That's all. Yeah.
Correct. That was a stupid thing.
But I suppose in the 89s, there wasn't anything other than a map you could take. So
you could take a guide.
Also, you could take a map of China that was written in Japanese, maybe.
Anything. Yeah.
Also true.
Yeah.
So they were in China when it happened?
Yeah. So like the thing is set in Japan. They're all Japanese, but they in like their search of like improving their martial arts skills, they go to China. And like, okay, so there's like Ranma turns into a girl, so there's like tons of like gender gags there and like male fragility, masculinity stuff. But there's also like a bunch of other characters who are introduced. There's this one, Ryoga or Ryoka, who turns into a little pig when he gets wet, and is extremely gross. I don't know if this ever comes to light, because in like the 15 or whatever volumes that I read, I don't think it ever did. But basically he turns into this little pig. I think his name is like Pichan as a pig, who Akane thinks is like her pet, and never puts together that like Pichan wears the same headband that Ryoga wears. But she'll be like, I haven't seen Pichan in a while. Oh, hey Ryoga, where have you been? And like not put together that they're the same. And
So did coincidentally all of these characters go to the same spring over time? Or
no, there's a reason no, they went at different times, but there's a reason, and I'm pretty sure that maybe like all of them either directly or indirectly got in the springs because of Ranma. Like, he is just such an idiot and so unaware of what he's doing to other people that it might all have been his fault. So like Ryoga, his other character qualities are that he's like super, super strong and has the worst sense of direction in the world, where they'll be like, we're supposed to meet down the block, and he'll like walk from Tokyo to like Okinawa and back trying to get down the block. So he like followed Ranma trying to like fight him basically off this challenge. And literally, I love the idea that he somehow walked from Japan to China. Which is funny because they're not connected.
Hell of a commute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you walk above water or?
I imagine under it.
Yeah, so he goes to the springs, and then like Ranma and his dad are like fighting, and they don't even notice that he's there and accidentally knock him in. Yeah, I know. And then there's this girl, no, not Akane. She's his fiance. Shampoo, who's Chinese, and she's part of like a group of Amazons who have this thing where like if a woman beats them in battle, they like give her the kiss of death, and then she's their permanent enemy. But if a man beats them in battle, they're like a worthy adversary, and then they're going to get married. So like, obviously you can see where this is going, which is that Shampoo gets beaten by both the female and the male version of Ranma. So she like hates the female version, but is in love with the male version. Also, she turns into a cat when she gets wet, and Ranma is terrified of cats. So there's a lot of gags of her just being like, hello, here I am. And then it starts raining, and then he freaks out.
And vice versa for her against Ranma, right? Like,
I don't think that one works.
Well, she's terrified of the girl version of Ranma.
No, she's not terrified. She hates the girl
sworn
version.
Enemies.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure that she actually does figure out that they're the same person pretty quickly. Especially
Is she the only person in the entire series that does?
Oh, no. There's tons of people who figure it out, but there's also tons of dumber people who don't figure it out. So, like, all of their, like, at first, they're like, oh, well, you know, our schoolmates can't know about this because, like, it's magic and it's going to freak them out. But, like, pretty quickly, all of their just, like, classmates know because they're like, of course it's the same person. Like, we just saw him fall into a pool and then come out as a girl. After like 4 or 5 times, they figured it out. But there are other characters who just, like, genuinely never figure it out. Also, there's this gag that, like, his mom has agreed that, like, or, like, his dad told his mom that if Ranma isn't, like, a perfect man, they're gonna commit harakiri, and, like, which is, like, a ritual, like, honor suicide. So his, like, sweet mom comes around, and they're just, like, walking on eggshells, because, as you can imagine, in real life, you don't, like, get water dumped on you that often, but in the world of Ranma, it's, like, literally happens 20 times per volume that he'll just, like, be walking, and someone will, like, empty a bucket of water on him by accident for perfect comedic effect. So they have this thing where they're, like, walking on eggshells around his mom and afraid that if she finds out that he's, like, a woman half the time, they're gonna have to commit suicide.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
If you were to, like, wrap up the whole series in 1 to 2 sentences, what would that consist of?
It's just, one, I think it's, like, amazing visual storytelling, but it's also extremely funny at the same time, because it has all of these, like, impressive feats of, like, all of these techniques, which are so good for storytelling, for action and for romance, but also just for just nonstop gags that are super funny and that are, like, I mean, they're way more lowbrow than highbrow, but sometimes they're a little bit highbrow. Also, it looks great.
Okay, so Aviva, if you would like to tell me a little bit about how we all met, and then talk about what you do professionally.
Sure. So professionally, I have recently transitioned to being full-time freelance art, and right now I'm just taking on personal commissions, which is great. Please pay me to draw your pets. It's the best. And I'm very good at it. And I also have an OnlyFans where I post pinup and like fine art, photography, self-portraits daily. Obviously, that's like a very different audience, but I would also love if you subscribe to that, if that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Do I do anything else? Do I have any other jobs?
Best wife, therapist.
No, that's only for you.
You're also Twitch streaming with me, so that's pretty cool.
Well, that's, again, it's not really a job. It's just like a favor I do to my friends.
Well, maybe you'll start streaming too.
Sure, yeah. Have me on your podcast. I'm hilarious. Wow.
And then,
did I really get an eh? I've cracked you up like 3 times already. Like, relax.
And then tell everyone how we met. And how you met Matt.
Yeah. So we met, what, was it 4 or 5 years ago now? 4 years?
5.
Okay. Sure. We met because you asked me to pick up Yuko Oda's Sexy Stucky zine for another friend at TCAP.
Which was,
shout out to Yuko.
A friend of a friend. Yeah.
Oh, of course it was. Yeah. So basically, through TCAF, Toronto Comic Arts Festival, my favorite indie comics festival in the world, rip in peace. See you in 2021, I hope. Liana was like, oh, I used to live in Toronto. I really miss it. Will you pick up this thing for me for my friend of a friend, in parentheses? And I sent you that, and then we started talking, and we're Twitter mutuals, and like sent a bunch of care packages back and forth, and now we are deeply in love and literally FaceTime every morning. That's only half untrue. And Matt, how'd we meet?
I think it was also TCAF, different year, because I hadn't heard about TCAF 5 years ago.
Because you were.
So was it TCAF last year?
No, it was old. It was longer ago than that. I think I started following you online because your artwork is great, and because Liana had been talking about you, baby Matt. But yeah, we also met through TCAP, and I'm pretty sure that maybe like last year or maybe 2 years ago, we also had dinner together, like all of us in a group of people. Yeah, so through comics.
I am scrolling still past 2016 of our tweets back and forth. So.
Oh, so sounds like someone was confidently wrong.
Well, still scrolling, so we'll see about that.
See if you get to 2015. Then we'll see who was right.
It's going to be good.
We'll defeat.
Your first ever tweet to me was complimenting me on my likeness of the Mindy Kaling piece that I did.
Aww.
What year, though? That's where I'm at.
And then the second tweet was, Liana, haha, I knew I recognized her in your Etsy shop. Welcome aboard the hot mess that is my Twitter feed. Kissy emoji.
Wait, what?
It's just a wonderful welcome tweet to supposedly me following you. It's great.
What year, though?
It is March 2016. So
okay, good job. Yeah, no, I did think that you were right because we there was TCAP and then New York was I think July 2016.
Okay, so now that we've established that we love you very much, is there any sort of things that you'd like to kind of leave the viewer with in terms of either this episode or maybe going off into the rest of this year of 2020?
I feel put on the spot. Comics are great. They're also very silly and should be taken seriously, but with a huge grain of salt. And be kind to one another. And I look forward to seeing you at a convention one day.
One day, Rip. Do you want to drop your social?
Link? Yeah. So on Twitter and on my never updated Instagram, I'm Aviva Artzy. And my OnlyFans is onlyfans.com/thatartsgirl. And my website. Wait, no. My website is also avivamyartzy.com. If you want to commission me, there's tons of samples. I mean, it's also on my Twitter, but...
What's your LinkedIn?
Thank you for coming. What's your LinkedIn? I don't want people to add me on LinkedIn. Pass.
Good.
That's okay, man.
The most important social media platform of 2020.
I'm not looking to get an office job. I just left one. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming. We appreciate you. We love you.
Love you too, wife.
Bye.